I talked to someone last week that had, in his mind, done what is right. Repeatedly say over and over again that we have a sovereign God by which we depend upon. We know we do, right? Thank God we do. Can you imagine all the people going through this depraved world without relying upon a sovereign God? But it reminded me of the person that has starving children, a decaying household, and is saying, God will provide. God will provide. Unable to say, God has provided you with hands that can work, with skills that can get things done, with intellect that can get a job somewhere, with trade skills that can work. God has given you all that, and while you are waiting for God to provide, you have turned your back on the stewardship of what God has already given you. I will not say God is going to provide and turn our back on America and what God has already provided and given us to try to turn things around. Of course, it has to be God's will. We know that. But since we don't know what God's will is, we've got to believe that God's will is for us to honor him, to glorify him, to work and for his holy name that we will praise and lift high, and to do what is right in his eyes, not in our eyes, and to try to change what is wrong in his eyes, and to push against the darkness in every possible way that we can push against the darkness. And if it is his will to allow the darkness to take over, so be it. But in the meantime, we need to fight and we need to push against it. Some don't want to do that. It's too hard. It's too much work. How do we do it? Where do we begin? Begin by opening up your scripture and starting to understand and learn the nature of God and what he would have for us. This is his country. He built this land. He built it on the firm foundation of the principles that are in Scripture. This was not a land that was built on the back of just men. It was built on the values of God. Along with that, and we, I believe, have an obligation to work to get back to the values of God. You know, this is a beautiful thing that we have going on right here. We don't have to lay up at night and try to think of some innovative way that we can move America forward into the future. We don't have to do that. This isn't Russia or China. This is America. All we've got to do is worry about getting America back to what it was. The foundation is already laid. The path that we need to go has already been trodden. It's already been worn into the ground from generations long ago that have built this country, that have already walked that path. All we've got to do is get rid of the brush and the overgrownness and get back on the path that has already been established. We don't reinvent the path. We don't need to come up with this ingenuity and this innovativeness that is going to take us into the future. Getting back on the path that is already been put in place will get us to the future that we need to go to. We haven't lost our way to the point that we can't move forward. We have forgotten the way of the past. That's what has happened. And we are suffering now in America, as people say over and over again, that Washington is dysfunctional. We are not suffering from a dysfunctional Washington. That is nothing more than the effect of the cause. And the cause is a lack of leadership, and I would say lack of godly leadership. And we can fix that. But do we have the will to fix it? I don't know, Dan. It's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Where do we start? I don't know. I told you, from Scripture, from the Word, we can start. But we all have to have the will united in the will of Jesus Christ. We have to have the will to want to fix it, the will to want to change it. We got to have the will to care about our children's generations and our children's children's generation and our children's children's children generation. We got to have the will to want to leave a better America than what we found. We got to have the will to do that. Our problem is we've got to get our will fixed because we have lost so much of it because we think that it's hopeless, which is just a testimony to our lack of faith in God. I think about the economy as I do every single day, every single morning, as I'm reading about the economic environment around the world. But I don't see it as hopeless. I see it as there are solutions. It's going to take some uniting. Hey, remember to click the subscribe button right here on the screen. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when new content is added. And more importantly than anything, you don't want to miss all 3 live hours of Financial Issues every day from 9 to noon. And you can watch it on FISM.tv. That's FISM.tv.